A few months ago, I decided to start developing the pre-alpha of my first indie game. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I made everything from art, programming, and music. So let's go. Phase 1, understanding what I'm doing. Every time that you're starting something new, you want to understand 100% what you're doing. I mean, not 100%, but at least 45 or 50. And that's what I did at the beginning, because I first had this idea of making a game back in 2018. But I knew at that time that I was not ready to start doing it. So I ended up searching more about the topic, and during my research, I came across with indie games. And basically, there are games made independently, just by one person, 3 or 4. And I always thought that to make a game, you have to be in a big company, such as Rockstar Games or Ubisoft. But nah, I was wrong. You can do everything by yourself, but I also knew that it would not be easy. I started brainstorming and putting every idea that I had into a paper, and there were 3 elements that I focus on, which are programming, art, and music. And between them, the one that I did not knew anything about it was programming. I always wanted to learn how to code, and this was the best opportunity that I found to start doing it. And the first programming language that I learned was Python. It was simple, at least for me, straightforward, and I was able to understand everything that I was doing. After a couple of months learning Python, I realized that it was time to move forward, and I started practicing pixel art, which is related to the art of the game. And pixel art was the only thing that I already know how to do it, because I've been doing that thing since 2018. And it was not that difficult to do something that looks at least good. Phase 2, I think I already know what I'm doing. With all the basics done, it was time to search for a game engine. And basically, game engines are software that you use to make your game. For example, if you want to make music, you can use Logic Pro or Fruit Loops. That's the same thing with game engines, because you use them to make your games. This definition might be wrong, but I think you already got the idea. And there's so many engines that you can use, like a lot. And the first one that I downloaded was Unity. I think Unity is the most famous one, but for me it was like a nightmare. It was so difficult, like fucking difficult. I think it's because I was a beginner, and I still being one. But at that time, I just did not knew anything about it, like nothing. And to program your games on Unity, you have to use C#. And that programming language for me was so complicated. So I deleted Unity and I searched more, and I found Godot. And bro, no cap, Godot is like a ninja. Unity was like the devil for me, but Godot was simpler, lighter, and the programming language that I use in Godot is GDScript. And GDScript is a bit similar to Python, which is the first programming language that I learned. So I was like, okay, that's gonna be simple. I'll not face any problem. And guess what? I was wrong. At this point, I already had a little idea of how the character would be, and I also had the sprite of the character done. So it was time to import the sprite into the engine and make that nigga move. And to make a sprite move, you have to program. And I was a beginner, so I faced so many bugs, problems, and it took me so long to solve them. Even though half of those problems and bugs were like stupid things, but you know, I cannot complain. It was part of the process. Phase 3, I think it's time to finish. The main theme of the game is sci-fi, and at this point, I already had a little idea of how the story would be, and I wanted to put this sci-fi vibe or feeling already into the game. With the basics done, it was time to move into level design. And basically, level design, as the name indicates, it's when you design the levels of your game. How many enemies you want, how many doors, how many windows if you're gonna have one, how many traps. It was one of my favorite parts of the whole project. Talking about enemies, I made 2 different types. One that has 4 legs, and it was really good to animate this enemy. And one that is flying, it looks like he's saying, yo, you cannot pass here, my nigga. At that time, I was like stress-free, you know, because I already knew what I wanted to do. But yeah, anyway, with the character done, moving, smiling, shooting, with the enemy walking and killing the character, with the doors opening, I think it was time to move into something different, which was the music. The philosophy for this project was no matter what happens, keep that shit simple. And to make the music, I used Logic Pro. I've already made some beats, nothing too complex, but that little knowledge that I had helped me when I was making the music for the game. So it was not that complicated. And then I just added some more details like screen titles, sound effects, and that's it. This is basically how I made it. Nothing too complex, as I said. I wanted to do something simple. And yeah, that's what I did. I think so. Thank you.